Oh, here we go. Boston has entered the chat, and there is so much to chat about with you. Travis Thomas, George Balekji here. George, where are you, my friend? I mean, I'm so used to having you here with me. Now you're out on the road. What's going on here?
Hey, first remote episode of the chat coming from the greatest state that ever was or ever will be.
God.
New Jersey, baby. This is actually, I'm in my sister's room. Now, quote unquote sisters. I have two sisters. And let me give a quick story because you see this ladder behind me.
Yeah.
So it's now common knowledge amongst my family. I was a mistake. My parents meant to have two kids, not three. They had Cecile, my oldest sister, who's awesome. They had Rebecca, my other oldest sister, who's awesome. And then, whoops, 1994, I came along. Well, the issue was they had a house with 3 bedrooms. One's a master, one for each girl. So me being the only boy, my dad built this loft by hand, by himself, and it still stands today. So that explains the awkward random ladder behind me. But yeah, I'm coming live from my sister's room because my room is now a storage closet. So whenever I visit the parents in Jersey, it's a good time, bro. It's a good time.
Hey, listen, I'm the only child, and my room became a storage room, so that's nothing new. And by the way, I don't know about the greatest state of all time for Jersey, but I do know you, sir, are the greatest mistake of all time. Thank God that they had that with you, my friend. All right, now coming up on this fine program, we'll talk about the fallout, obviously, from Game 2, the Royal Rumble. Okay, George, that was the Panthers and the Bruins. Plus, who should be in net for Game 3? George and I will debate that. And, of course, we got to preview Game 2 of the Celtics tonight. We'll get to that. Chris Sale shut down the Red Sox. We'll talk about that. And then, finally, which sport has the best athletes? We'll do all that here. These are all the top stories we're talking about on Boston has entered the chat. But, George, you know we always start with, let us get this off of our chest. And I'm going to go on this one, and I'm sure you're feeling the same way. We'll find out if you are anyway, because, look, I'm frustrated right along with everyone else of the beatdown that the Bruins just caught at the hands of the Panthers. But, look, I feel pretty optimistic for a couple reasons. Number one, we already knew the Panthers being at home, having the sense of urgency for Game 2, we're going to come out gangbusters, and they did that, and they handled their business, and they won the game. So technically, I feel like the Bruins did their job of going down to Florida and getting one game, just earn the split. They did that in Game 1. So I think we all should take a collective deep breath with that. Number two, I mean, Jeremy Swayman gave up 4 goals for the first time in this postseason. You have to imagine he's going to be better, A. B, before we got to the Royal Rumble, George, how many dumb penalties did this team commit? I mean, too many men on the ice, all these things. Now, I'll give them a bit of a pass because you're on the road. I think a lot of that stuff is communication between the players and the coaches. You have to imagine you'll clean that up for Game 3 and beyond, especially being back home. So even though I'm frustrated, just like all of us, I'm taking a deep breath here. You know, everyone's so overreactive. We were overreactive after Game 1 when the Bruins won that. We're damn sure overreactive after Game 2 last night. So I'm taking a deep breath to get this off of my chest, George. And so with that, let's get into it. Because, look, 6-1, the final score. I mean, honestly, it didn't even feel that close to me. I mean, I felt like this score could have went way left, more so than it already did. And then we saw the frustrations, obviously, at the end of the game. I mean, just your initial reactions to last night's loss.
Bruins let down Jeremy Swayman.
Yeah.
The shot differentials, Panthers 33, Bruins with just 15. But you saw in what these goals came in. Now, remember, Brad Marchand missed a wide open net set up by Sergei Bobrovsky and just being a wild card in the crease. And you're thinking, though, and what I'm watching early on, I go, Bruins are skating well. They're attacking the net. They're putting the pressure on the Panthers, especially in the offensive zone. And Bobrovsky is going to pull through as just an okay goalie. And I was like, all right, with Sway in the crease, the Bruins have a chance. We're expecting a response from the Panthers in Game 2. They looked off in Game 1, and that could be the rest they have coming off a very short first-round series. And, of course, the Bruins coming off Game 7. And then Charlie Coyle comes through and scores for the Bees, and you're going, all right, they had depth scoring in the last game. Now the studs are pulling through and starting to get it going. But think of the Steven Lorentz goal, made it 1-1. They lose them. Perfect deflection for the goal. It was awful puck management by the Bruins in the defensive zone. And the forecheck pressures Wotherspoon into a turnover, rushes off the boards, and next thing you know, it's a tied game. Alexander Barkov, Charlie McAvoy loses his stick. That's fine. You got to find a body and just start pushing guys around. Well, the guy that was his in the defensive zone ends up getting the rebound for the goal there, makes it 2-1. 3-1 Forsling, I mean, just right as the period's about to end, you let that missile in. And they gave him space because they had so many bodies down low by the crease because they knew they had to clear guys out because the Panthers are playing for rebounds. Well, no one's going up. You have an early, easy, wide open shooting lane. That happens. The 4-1 goal, Carlo pushed down, just Bruins expecting an icing. There are just so many mistakes all around the ice on this one. And especially you go for some of those goals where you see just the Bruins losing guys on defense, just not playing clean, smart hockey. The penalties continue to flow in. And when we were on this program last time, what did I point out? At least for me, 2 areas where the Bruins have to clean up. A, they got to win in the dot, which they did tonight, but none of that converted to actual scoring chances or opportunities.
Right.
And B, they have to cut down on giveaways. They had more giveaways in game 2 than game 1. Just we knew there would be a response by the Panthers.
Yes.
It's a Paul Maurice coach team. This is a team that's better than last year, that plays tough. They thrive causing chaos to the opponent, but you expected a response by the Bruins as well, and it wasn't there tonight at all. I almost called you Sway. That wasn't there at all tonight, Trav. And I just feel because you had a goalie on an absolute heater,
yes,
and people are going to look out tomorrow and go, oh, Swayman got pulled, Linus came in. It was the Bruins not doing him any justice in the crease. Right. So I agree on this call by Jim Montgomery. Let me pull Jeremy out. Let me save his confidence, what's left of it. Linus, you go in, and you see some live bullets. I wouldn't be surprised to see Linus Allmark in game 3.
Hey, I agree with George, but do you? Hit us up, 617-790-0928. Boston has entered the chat hotline. Send us your tweets as well. We'll get to those in the show. The show's interactive, so we need to hear from you. George and I do the heavy lifting, but you are our co-host. And George, I completely agree with everything you said. Remember, one of my keys to the game, we talked about this, was the Bruins are going to need to withstand that early onslaught, and they did that. You brought up the Coyle goal. I thought that took the air out of the building, although temporarily, as we know. But they did that. That checked the box for me. And then as the game went on, it's funny, George. I want to get your thoughts on this because I hold Pasta and Margie and all the stars on the team. I really hold them to a higher standard in the moments. Tied game, third period in a playoff game. Close-out game in a series in a playoff series. But as you advance further and further along in the postseason, I mean, your team needs more of you. You must elevate. Every moment is a big moment, in other words. And this was a night I just can't live with Pasta. 0 shots in the entire game. I understand the Panthers defense was knocking him on his keister. I get it. I mean, all he got me was one punch to the face against Tkachuk tonight, last night. But other than that, no shots. I just can't have it. Marchie got you the assist, but it wasn't enough, George. So, I'm getting to the point where, especially as the competition gets better as you move along in the playoffs, I just need you more all the time, more so than just the big moments. Does that make sense? I feel like they let us down in a game 2 spot, especially when the game started getting away from you. It wasn't always 6-1 here. I mean, there were times when a Pasta goal could have really swung the momentum, but obviously it was all for naught. It didn't happen.
I completely agree. I mean, you have a goose egg from David Pastrnak, and we both pointed out, I thought he skated so well in game 1.
Yeah.
But you knew the Panthers and that defense and that blue line and their physical forwards picked it up. Goose egg as well when it comes to shots from Jake DeBrusk,
right,
from Trent Frederick, from David Pastrnak, from Pavel Zacha. But Pavel Zacha, again, on that Coyle goal, it was a tic-tac-toe. Pavel Zacha, Brad Marchand, Charlie Coyle. Like, oh, they're going to get going. The guys that called out, even after game 1 with that win, Hampus Lindholm, Charlie McAvoy, 0 shots each. And then that goes into, when I talk about the miscues, it just seemed like every goal, just about, that the Panthers scored tonight, you would see Charlie McAvoy out there and somewhat looking lost, whether it's his guy in his assignment without a stick. You got to lay down the punishment. That's what just boggled my mind. I say it again on that 1-1 goal that got it started for the Panthers. Steven Lorentz, it starts with a forecheck. They pressure Wotherspoon, just rushes off the boards, falls right into the Panthers' lap. And you have Lorentz in the high slot, unchecked, all alone, right in front of the goalie. What do you expect is going to happen? He had the perfect deflection to get it by Sway, but the Bruins just not accounting for guys. Their best players were out of it tonight. When you look at what the Panthers did, yes, of course, we saw Barkov with 2 scores himself, but also the Matthew Tkachuk's being a rat, antagonizing and getting after Pastrnak. You think that fight started after the whistle? No. After Marchand got into it, Montour,
right.
I looked, and when the refs are trying to figure everything out, it's Pasta and Tkachuk standing there right at mid-ice. You see Tkachuk holding his stick in Pasternak's face. Yep. They just know how to get under their skin. What the Bruins were doing to the Leafs, and we said, oh, man, the Leafs mentally broke down. They're in their head. That's what the Panthers did tonight. They got their game started, but they also got the mental game started as well. So I agree with you. It's just the miscues were there. The mistakes were there. The penalties, too. One penalty after the next, even to start the game. Yep. I love what Brazeau does to go out there and just be a prick. Go ahead, do that. I love that. You need that, especially from a guy of his size. But you have to be smart. You got to be a smart rat like what Brad Marchand is. And the Bruins just weren't smart at all tonight.
Listen, you brought up McAvoy. I mean, 1 point in his last 7 games. I think that says it all. And look, Twitter was a cesspool going after this guy. But I actually thought, the most reasonable one I saw was from Dale Arnold. How about that? An old friend here. This outcome was probably predictable and a lackluster effort throughout the lineup, but it seems McAvoy is having a very tough night. He was right, George. But look, this guy can play better. Maybe, the same way Montgomery has called out Pasta before, maybe he could sit him down and light a fire under him, because we have seen those results. When Montgomery calls a guy out, we've seen those results. Maybe it's time for McAvoy now.
Yeah, and just like I said to you, I'm like, is Pastrnak banged up? Is something not right with him? But Jim Montgomery came out, called him out after game 6, and I go, all right, he's fine to me, because a coach wouldn't do that unless someone's banged up.
That's right.
I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to read in between the lines for what Charlie McAvoy, what the response we see from him is. Yeah. But he just looked out of it all night and just losing his stick. Something with the hands, the wrist, I don't know, but this is not me. This is just me thinking about it, hypothesizing. I'm not saying I know anything that someone else may either, but It's just something with McAvoy for him to be this off. And again, he's your best defenseman. Mason Larraï is a fun story in Game 7 and in Game 1. His time on ice, his first career playoff goal. But the Charlie McAvoys and the Hampus Lindholms, they make the difference in series like this, especially need McAvoy to show up. And he just looked awful all night long.
Let's talk Jeremy Swayman, because, look, I get it. Some people are saying Ullmark should start Game 3. I'll be honest with you. I don't really have a problem either way. I understand if they want to go Ullmark, because you can't really blame him at all for coming in this game last night cold against a team that feels all the momentum on earth. I mean, of course, they're going to break through. By the way, I don't blame Sway either. How, Sway? I mean, this guy has carried you all playoffs long, George. Yeah. And then even in that game last night, I saw some tremendous saves from him early on. He's keeping the Bruins in the game. And then, hell, I mean, you're not getting any support from the defense. You're not getting any support offensively. What do you think's going to happen against a great team like the Panthers, who has to have it at home? Of course he's going to give some up. In my opinion, they pull him because I believe he's going to start Game 3. Do you?
Yeah.
Again, I don't have a problem if they go Ullmark. I understand it. Maybe you give Sway a little break here, get Ullmark in with a fresh, start in a game, not bringing him in cold. So I do get it. You're back home. But my gut says it's going to be Sway. You agree with that?
I mean, if your guys can respond, then you should go Jeremy Swayman in Game 3. I know not too much earlier in this exact podcast I said it's going to likely be leanest Game 3, but that's me talking without thinking, which is what I do 90% of the time.
But it could be either way, George. It could be either way.
Dude, It could have been Martin Brodeur out there. He wasn't going to stop this Panthers attack because the Bruins did not help their goaltender. People are going to look in the box score and say, 4 goals allowed. All right, Swayman crashed back down to earth.
Right.
But like you said, maybe Monty pulls him to go, Linus, get out there, and he'll figure out and check Sway after this game. But especially with the series now switching back to Boston, all right, maybe Sway back in his home crease, he could pick it back up. He was the reason the Bruins have gotten this far because he is the best player in the playoffs so far, but the goalie needs help eventually. He didn't get it from the guys in front of him at all. Now, if it is Linus Ullmark in Game 3, that will be 18 days since his last start. Now, Jim Montgomery said, I trust our science department, our sports science, what they're doing in practice, how they're mentally challenging him like it's a game day, how they're physically challenging him as if it's a game day. He's staying sharp. But yeah, I'm with you on this one. If you go Swayman Game 3, I wouldn't be surprised by it at all. I mean, he has played phenomenally well. It's the guys in front of him that need to wake up. So that's a concern for me. I know I sound like a broken record at this point, but I've told you, man, I'm not worried about Swayman. You have to start and end every conversation about the Bruins with Jeremy Swayman because he's been that dude for them. He's been their best player.
Yep.
I can't talk goaltending until I have to call out how awful the Bruins were in front of him. So if those guys don't play well, I don't care who's in the crease. Jeremy Swayman, Linus Ullmark, they're going to be left out to dry. The Bruins have to pick it up. This is a good Panthers team, and we expected it, but you still have to bring the fight back to them.
I think that's well said. Here's also how I know you're in Jersey back home right now. You dropped a nice Martin Brodeur reference. I mean, you can't even help yourself, George, right now. Now, of course, I called this game, too, last night. The Royal Rumble, George. Well, Twitter was all over all these damn fights. Let's take a look at some of these tweets. You love this. Look, the show's interactive. We already told you, call us 617-790-0928. Get involved in the hotline. But keep those tweets flowing, too, George. You could see people are loving the violence here. Hey, at least the Bruins punched some faces last night.
I like Connor Ryan. I don't think the Bruins and Panthers like each other. Yeah, Connor, saying the obvious thing out on Twitter, and that's, his humor to it. Line brawl to start Game 3. I can feel it. Oh, yeah. Panowski, 1,000%. You send the fourth liners out there. They drop gloves instantly. You wail on each other. You get out of your system. Penalties are assessed. Then the hockey begins. But you know what it is at this point, especially after the Montour goal. Celebrates, looks Marchand down in his face, yells in his face. Marchand wraps his hands around him. I hated that the refs got right into that one because if I'm Brad Marchand, I go, I don't care if I get my ass beat. I don't care if I get down to the ice. I got to lay one into this sucker's jaw because he's yelling in my face. But at that point, the refs are saying we got to protect it. We got to keep everyone in check. We can't let things get more out of hand than they already are, even though they pretty much lost the game. And then right after that, as I mentioned, Tkachuk just getting under Pasternak's skin, but he gets 2 cheap shots in there after Pasta goes down. That, to me, is the biggest worry. David Pastrnak fighting Matt Tkachuk should never happen. David Pastrnak fighting anyone should never happen, let alone Matt Tkachuk. But then your best player gets his ass beat on the ice. Again, the Bruins, the Pat Maroons, this is where they have to step up. I don't care if you're on the bench. You get out on the ice and you bring it to Tkachuk. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a glove drop right away, especially back on the Bees' home ice. But yeah, no love lost between these teams. And this, even after the Panthers got up 4-1, 5-1, 6-1, and put a beat down out on their own, they brought it with the fight too. They wanted to keep fighting. So it just shows, man, they're just bringing them. I'm holding back the cursing. They're just bringing the mother effer out of them in this game.
I mean, listen, this is why we love playoff hockey. Nuck if you buck. I'm here for it. Before we move on to the Celtics, I got to ask you, let's go predictions here for Game 3 because I think we're going to go ping pong style back and forth. I could see the Bees being back home cooking, whoever's in net. I think Sway could be Allmark, but I think the Bees win Game 3 at home. And then I wouldn't be shocked if the Panthers do the same thing the Bruins did here and steal one in Boston. I just think we're set for a long series. You and I both felt that way coming into this series, and it's kind of playing out that way so far after 2 games. So I'll go Bruins at home Game 3, but I could see the Panthers stealing one here.
I'm gonna go Panthers Game 3.
Okay.
I just think the way they played tonight, the offensive onslaught and making it happen outside of the crease.
Yeah.
Having those not finesse goals, but again, slap shots from well beyond the dot, good deflections in the high slot, guys going unchecked, skating right down the middle. And again, it was a turnovers, like that 6-1 goal. That was because of Brad Marchand turning the puck over in his defensive zone, Barkov unchecked on a 3-on-2 situation, cashing it in. I just think the Panthers added an extra layer. You saw how the Bruins were lining up when they were in their own zone, heavy bodies around the crease, but wanted to keep the Panthers out of Jeremy Swayman's way. They're like, all right, you give us a space to shoot, we're going to shoot it. They added an extra layer and a foil to their offensive attack. And I just think the way they physically dominated the Bruins in this one, it's going to be tough to see another response coming at home. And remember now, Panthers came into this series rested, took them a game to wake up. For the Bruins, man, came off a 7-game series. They're riding that high in game 1. Yeah. Now we'll see game 3. I think the Panthers, the way they just physically dominated tonight, pace, everything, attitude, I think it'll be Panthers game 3. I hate to say it.
All right, now listen, Boston has entered the chat, is interactive. We always say you're our co-host. Send us your tweets. You see we've been reading them all show long. We do that every single show, so keep them coming. How about the hotline, 617-790-0928? And George, our guy Boris in Framingham, sent us a voice message about Jayson Tatum. So let's get into the Celtics here. We have a game 2 to talk about. Let's listen to our guy Boris about Jayson Tatum. Take a listen.
Hey, Travis and George. This is Boris from Framingham. I've been hearing a lot of people complaining about Jayson Tatum this postseason, and I totally don't understand why. He had a double-double in Game 1 versus the Cavs, leads the team in rebounds and assists, not to mention the Celtics are winning. So why is everyone having a problem with Tatum? Thanks. Bye.
Thank you, Boris. Shout-outs to him. Also, look, Peyton Pritchard defending Jayson Tatum as well. Check this out. Quote, people can have bad shooting nights, but what is he doing? He had some great defensive plays. He made the easy passes, which led to assists, big rebounds. It's just the casuals who think it's only about the shots. Look, he's right, George. Boris is right. Peyton Pritchard's right. I've been saying this. You know, if Jayson Tatum is sulking and pouting and checked out because the offense isn't going through him or he's not shooting well or whatevs, then that's a different conversation. That's not what he's doing. He's helping you in other ways. Now, I will say this too, though. You know, obviously, he's the best player on the best team. And we assume this is a championship team. They look like a championship team. And we're watching this play out now in Minnesota. Anthony Edwards is carrying the Timberwolves, right? How about the Knicks? Jalen Brunson carrying the Knicks. I mean, so we see the best player on the team usually do the heavy lifting when it comes to scoring. So I respect where the criticism of Jayson Tatum is coming from. It's not foreign to me. But the thing is, he's helping in other ways. And I also, George, believe, and you gave the numbers in the last Boston has entered the chat, he's not shooting particularly well. I don't believe that's going to last. He's going to shoot well. It's not even a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And I have to imagine it's going to happen at some point in the series, if not tonight, George.
So my issue with all this, though, and why I really want to point out that Jayson Tatum's struggles will eventually bite the Celtics, is you won 64 games this regular season. And in those 64 wins, Jayson Tatum averaged 27.5 points per game. Right. All around in the regular season, where you had the third best net rating in NBA history, you had Jayson Tatum averaging 27 points per game on 47% shooting from the floor, 38% from deep. His numbers have dropped down to 21.2 points per game in the playoffs, 41% from the floor, 25% from three. I get it. I don't need him to shoot a ton, but I need him to be effective and efficient in his game. I don't need him to score a ton. Right. I just need him to be efficient, and it's how he's going about to find his shot. What Jayson Tatum's always been about, and he said it after he scored his first 40-point game of his career, he goes, oh, man, you know what I realized? Like, if I attack the rim early, if I get to the free throw line, find my shot there, then the three ball starts falling. And then I know I can do it. I did 40 once. I did 50 once. I could do that any night. This is my path to executing and getting to that point. He's settling for threes. He's settling for jump shots. He's hunting that three ball early and really trying to fall into it. So what worries me, like him coming off an 0 for 5 performance from deep as it was in game 1, is he going to get frustrated and start pressing and want to find his shot and really just start settling mid-range, long twos, go to the cup, attack. Now, given, if you watch how teams are defending him, the second Jayson Tatum gets into the paint, automatic double team, triple team coming his way. They're forcing the ball out of his hands. So I understand he's not getting those looks. But Jayson Tatum, you have to find your shot eventually. And this is a guy still, you talk about if he's not sulking or anything. What I always watch for him, we see it all the time. Missed shot Jayson Tatum. Someone rebounds it. He goes up, just punches at the ball, gets called on a reach-in foul. You have to stop those dumb, frustrating fouls. You have to stop being frustrated like that. All right, if your shot's not falling, good on you. You had 11, 5, and 3 in game 1, and you won by 25 points. This is the part where I'm going, and I'm making sure to check myself. The Celtics are winning by 18, 20, 25, 30 points.
Right.
And Jayson Tatum is shooting this way. That's fine. But eventually the playoffs will shine through and it will get tight. And you need him to be better than your 4th best shooter on your team. You need him to be better than the Derek Whites and the Drew Holidays and the Sam Hausers. That's who he's shooting worse than. You need him to be better than that. But right now he's not. So that's why I worry. He's your best player. He's your leader. And eventually he has to be that dude. But I don't know if he's going to find his shot because when does he break out of this? You're facing a Cavs team that's good defensively. That Miami Heat team is okay. They're all right defensively. Knicks team you're going to face, they're going to be easier defensively. But who do you get in the finals, right? A Timberwolves team that has that size, that has those guys on the perimeter that can match up with you. A Nuggets team which has a pedigree, a Thunder team who has the athletes, the length, and the size too. So that's what there has to be a red flag raised. You have to recognize it. Yes, they're winning. These are bad teams they're beating too. So how are you going to do against the good teams when you do need that scoring and that efficient shooting from Jayson Tatum to come through?
Okay, I guess I'm more bullish on him than you, so it sounds like a perfect time to play a game of buy or sell here for game 2. And let's start with Jayson Tatum. Buy or sell, he leads the game in points. I'm buying this. And it goes back to what I just said. Look, he's helping you in other ways. We've laid that out. But in terms of the scoring, I just think at some point, when you look at all the players who came out and defended him, right? We saw the Peyton Pritchard quote there. Drew Holiday was another one. Joe Mazzulla. I mean, all his guys are coming to his defense. This is about, okay, let's get him back on track here, scoring-wise. I think they are going to put the spotlight on Jayson Tatum to get back going scoring-wise, just to quiet this nonsense down and show you we are a true team. We're not a team with a superstar, and when things go bad with our superstar, we don't know what the hell to do. Like you see so many of these NBA teams around the league that have a star. This team is actually a good team, and their superstar is just not a pain in the butt and doesn't make it all about him. So I think it's going to be reciprocated here. Where in game 2 tonight, I believe the Celtics are going to say, here you go, bro. Get back on track. We got you tonight. I think we're going to get an absolute clinic tonight in game 2 from Jayson Tatum in terms of scoring. So I'm buying this. Are you buying or selling? He leads everyone in points.
Sell. I think just
it.
how good Jaylen Brown is playing, you're going to keep going that way. And what else would Joe Mazzulla do then? You're getting questioned about Jayson Tatum scoring and the struggles. He's just going to show, and he wants to prove a point. It doesn't matter. They're going to keep playing the style their way. They're winning by 25 points. Yeah. He's been the leading scorer in one game this postseason for the Celtics. Bam Adebayo still outscored him in that game. He hasn't been the highest scorer in a game for the Celtics since April 9th. He's been playing this type of basketball, but you can't hide from the shooting slump that he's in. Can he break out against the Cavaliers? I don't know. Again, this is a top 10 defensive team when you go back to the regular season. Has a good perimeter defender like Isaac Okoro, guys that can pick him up on the outside. I'm just going to sell this one because of the threat that Donovan Mitchell is and the run he's been on, but more importantly, how effective, how good Jaylen Brown has been, where he is really the guy to me that could drop 30 any night for the Celtics.
All right, more on him in a minute. Let's go to Derek White. Derek White will record 5+ three-pointers for the 4th straight game. I'm buying this, George. Derek White has been the basketball equivalent for the Celtics of Jeremy Swayman for the Bruins this playoff run in totality. I mean, the dude has just been so hot. I'm not betting against him for any damn thing. I don't care. I know we're playing buy or sell. It wouldn't matter what the subject was. I'm buying on Derek White because his stock has never been higher. He is so hot right now. You called him the second best player on the team in these playoffs right now.
Oh, yeah, he's a big two, baby.
I mean, listen, right now, I'll take this. I mean, 5+ threes, it's conceivable. I'd absolutely buy this.
Sell. He's never done it more than twice in a row in the regular season. He's done it 3 at this time. I'm just not going to believe it until I see it. And you know what an adjustment should be made by the Cavaliers?
What?
Hey, that Derek White guy, run him off the 3-point line. Don't let him shoot. Let's let number 0 shoot. I want him shooting 25% from 3. I want that guy shooting the rock, not the guy averaging 56% from the floor. Teams are going to start, pivoting their defensive approach. Let's let Jayson Tatum beat us because he sucks right now. No, I'm a sell. But seriously, I'm going to sell Derek White doing this just because I won't believe it until I see it. And 4 in a row from that clip, that's a lot. But you know what? I will give you this, Trav. I wouldn't be shocked because, the Celtics won. They shot 46 threes in game 1. They're going to come out shoot 50 threes in game 2.
Absolutely. Oh, at least. Absolutely. All right, next one. Jaylen Brown and Donovan Mitchell will each record 30-plus points. So I'm going to go sell here, because Donovan Mitchell has to do it. I mean, like if he doesn't get 30, they are getting worse. They're getting smoked worse than we've ever seen. He has to do it because no one else is doing any damn thing on his team offensively. Jaylen Brown, though, obviously he's capable. We've seen it. I already told you, I think it's going to be Tatum's night. I don't think Jaylen Brown needs to score 30-plus. I think they're going to defer to Tatum in terms of points tonight. Let him get back on track. I'm going to go sell here. Not that Jaylen Brown isn't capable, but just because I don't believe he'll have to. Donovan Mitchell has to, George.
I love it, man. We're head-to-head on everything. I'm buying this one. Yeah. Jaylen Brown, the scoring continues with him. And Donovan Mitchell, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, this guy's averaging 29 points per game in these playoffs. Jaylen Brown, Derek White, there's no answer that the Cavaliers can bring for them defensively. And so I just see this happening. And Jaylen Brown, he's broken 30 twice already this postseason. This could be a game where we see the Cavs respond and the Celtics really have to keep the scoring coming and keep the pressure on them. But I'm buying this one. I think they both go 30-plus.
Okay, listen, here's one we're going to agree. I guarantee it because you just said it there, and I think I agree with you on this. The Celtics, buy or sell, the Celtics will win game 2 and take a 2-0 series lead. I'm going to buy this, but something you said I keyed in on, the gambling side of me perked up because I agree that the Cavs come out more of a sense of urgency here. They're just going to play even harder. They know they can't go down 2-0 even though they are. So I'm thinking they cover that 14 points. I think tonight will be a little bit closer. I think the Cavs cover that big number, but I'm still going Celtics to win this.
Celtics are going to win, no doubt about it.
Yep.
I don't think the Cavs will come out and cover. They just can't bring it offensively. You got to be elite at both ends of the floor to keep up with the Celtics team.
Yep.
But I don't hate that. 14's a lot of points.
Yeah.
So definitely a buy, man. They're winning
the 2-0 series lead, though, ultimately.
Yes. Dude, I don't feel right saying Celtics in 5. Like, they could sweep. But I don't feel right saying a sweep in the NBA. That's hard.
I know.
So I'm sticking Celtics in 5. I don't know when the Cavs win it, though. So if it's a sweep, I'll be like, there we go.
Bro, I literally called this. I said it's going to be Celtics in 6. I don't see how in the hell the Cavs win 2 games at this point, but we'll see. This is why you got to play the games. I mean, everyone, remember, we were doing laps around the office here after the Bruins won game 1. I don't feel that way after game 2 now. So things happen in series. That's why it's the postseason. That's why you play the games. So we'll see. All right. A little revenge for Chris Sale here against the Red Sox. Did you see this game last night? Chris Sale facing the Sox for the first time since 2016 when he was still on the other Sox, the White Sox. I mean, he absolutely lit them up. 6 innings pitch, 0 earned runs, 10 Ks. I mean, my God, on 103 pitches. Hey, man, look. You know what, George? I wasn't in the market at the time for the last Red Sox World Series, but I always, being on the outside looking in, put respect on Chris Sale's name because they don't get that World Series without him. And, I get it. Like, he was often injured. So I understand the money and the injuries, but again, from the outside looking in, I just always felt like you got a World Series out of the dude. I mean, being there in Washington, covering the Nationals, Steven Strasburg was stealing money from that franchise, but he was critical for a World Series. So I look at this as he's worth every damn penny, and that's sort of how I looked at Chris Sale's time here in Boston. What did you make of his start last night, and really, I guess in totality, just his time with the Red Sox?
6 innings pitched, 10 Ks, just 6 hits, no earned runs, 1 walk. I mean, he came out to be nails, and that's what you expect Chris Sale to do in a way of like, of course he does this to Boston.
Right.
But you know what, Braves fans? Let's see if he's still healthy after the month of May, after the month of June, because you hit the nail on the head. I mean, 2017, he was the best pitcher in baseball, 2.9 ERA, of 214 Ks, 214 innings pitched, setting a career high in innings pitched on that one.
Right.
But 2018 on, he was nothing more than a guy that was in and out of the rotation. And really, 2021 and on, he was a guy that was nothing after opening day.
Yeah.
It was best that he was traded away. The Red Sox got something they needed in an everyday second baseman, Vaughn Grissom. Now he's struggling as he is, but he just got back to the level. I mean, it's the first time he's playing at the MLB level, coming off a bad groin. Look, the Chris Sale trade needed to be done. If anyone thought that was a dumb trade because they needed pitching this season, which they do, despite how good they've been,
sure,
Chris Sale would not be in the conversation beyond the month of May. So I think it was a good trade, but you're right. They don't get a ring in 2018 if not for Chris Sale. So it's a great signing for all that money. Just the way it ended was a lot uglier than anyone would have ever liked it to be.
For sure. And listen, I disagree with you a little bit. I actually think he's going to be just fine health-wise with Atlanta because the Braves can afford to pretty much Kristaps Porzingis this guy. He's going to get the Porzingis treatment of, oh, you have a hangnail? Sit out. Take it easy. They have other options there. He doesn't have that same pressure there that he would here to carry this staff. He doesn't have to carry that staff. He's a luxury. So, I look at this as he's going to be healthy because anytime he has any type of ailment, they're going to be overly cautious with him, which is why they acquired him, which should mean he's healthy come postseason times. And we've seen around here in the postseason when he's healthy, he is lethal. Another thing you mentioned is the current Red Sox pitching staff playing well. Do you believe this can hold up? Because I look at this as we talk about Chris Sale's health. Hell, I look at it as a rotation health for the Red Sox. If they're healthy, they should be just fine. I think they're proving they can pitch. But no one really felt like that was the issue. It was more the thinness, the lack of depth of arms that everyone was concerned about. So it's not so much we all thought these guys were scrubs. No one felt that way. It was go out and get a top line starter or two because you are thin as a staff. That's where I'm at with it. If everyone stays healthy, I feel like they'll be fine. Pivetta didn't look great last night, but that's expected. No. George, he's rusty. He's just getting back in that rotation. I think the pitching can hold up as long as they're healthy, but that's my concern. Does that make sense?
No, it's the same way. I mean, Brian Bayo's on the IL. Garrett Whitlock. Isaiah Campbell, as bad as he's been, he's on the IL. It's just something has lurched up, and it could be the new approach to pitching with a lot more sweepers, a lot more breaking balls, less fastballs. I don't know what it is. But, yeah, it's all a health question with me.
It's health.
And again, man, 162 games. We're really early into this season. Right. Let's see it happen for the longevity of this. Let's revisit this conversation in July, August. Then I'll be a lot more comfortable giving you an answer then. But in early May, I mean, we're 6, 7, 8 days in. You just don't know with this team.
You just don't know. I completely agree, my friend. All right, before I get to RG3 and his shenanigans, he's stirring the pot again, as always. George, tell us about the great shows we have here in Nesson, because we're really kicking butt.
Oh, yeah, man. We got all these podcasts launching on the Nesson Network, and check out the premiere of Respect Her Game, hosted by Sofia Yerkstovich. Wherever you watch your podcast, YouTube, Nesson.com, Twitch, Facebook. Please like, subscribe, and follow as well. On the premiere episode, Sophia is joined by Boston College lacrosse player Annabelle Hasselbeck and PWHL Boston forward Lexi Agia, who's also Quinnipiac alum and national champ, to break down the first playoff series of the Professional Women's Hockey League, where Boston faces Montreal. That's starting Thursday, May 9th. Again, that's Respect Her Game. Catch the very first episode wherever you get your podcasts.
I mean, Nesson has all the business. You just got to admit it. We got it all going on. All right, let me get into this Dumas RG3 who tweeted this. All sports fans, this is a safe space. Who are the better athletes, football players or basketball players? And then look at Tyreek Hill getting involved here, the cheetah, saying lacrosse. So, I ask you, who are the greatest athletes in the world? Because I got to tell you something, man. I'm so tired of RG3, man. I covered this guy. He was a loudmouth as a player. He's a loudmouth post-playing career, and now he gets pretty much paid to be that. But I'm just so annoyed with him, George. But he did stir the pot. It's all anyone's talking about. Who has the best athletes? Can a football player play in the NBA? Can an NBA player play in blah, blah, blah? Do you agree with Tyreek Hill? It's lacrosse, or are you going a different direction here? Hey,
dude, some of the worst.
Hey, lacrosse are great athletes. Don't do that, George. I played lacrosse in high school. Relax.
Some of the worst athletes I know going back to high school were great lacrosse players.
Oh,
my buddy Steve
on.
Adwar, dude, he would just camp out in the crease. He's one of the biggest potheads I know. Just camp out in the crease, wait for it, get the pass, rip it in. Same thing with some defensemen. I'm not taking away. That takes a lot of skill.
Yes,
that doesn't take a lot of athleticism. Lacrosse players are not the best athlete, but that is a skill I could not master. So credit to you guys. And you can say the same thing about soccer. Very, very skilled, but you're an exceptional athlete because you have the ball on a yo-yo at your feet. Soccer players are better athletes than lacrosse players. Basketball players, football, hockey players, all better. Tennis, more athletic than lacrosse players. Are we getting into a debate about lacrosse athletes right now?
Yes, we are. You are being very disrespectful to lacrosse players. They run all game just like soccer players do. They hit you.
They
just
run up and down. They run up, and then you hold the stick. You're just holding on to a stick and you're cradling the ball.
Wait a minute. Running up and down? Since when is that not athletic, my friend? What are you talking about?
How do you define athleticism? How do you define athleticism?
Oh, okay. Running, jumping, hitting, shooting, all the things lacrosse players do. You're insane. Now, with this being said, it is not my vote for the best athletes. I am simply putting some respect on lacrosse players' names. But for me, George, I'm going combat athletes. Look, I love mixed martial arts. I love boxing. Bro, I've done so many stories on fighters. I'll tell you a quick story. I went and did a story on an MMA fighter, right? And so naturally you go to their fight camp. You see how they train, and then you get the interview and you go home. You know how this stuff works. So I get there. I watch this cat battle for rounds with no break in between. You know how in between rounds they get water? And no, for training, he had 3 or 4 wrestlers in a row come in. So he would grapple, he would wrestle, the bell would go off, the next fresh guy would come in. He'd go for a round, grappling, wrestling. He did that with 3 or 4 dudes, right? Then 2 or 3 kickboxers came in after the round of wrestlers came in. No break, George. No water, no nothing. Boom, kickboxers come in. Keep it going, keep it going. This lasted, George, I'm talking 6 or 7 fighters against this one guy for like 30 minutes. I've never seen anything like it. Never. I mean, plus you have someone on the other side trying to take your head off. So I'm going fighters here for my best athletes in the world.
Nice. So you're going the most conditioned guys are the best athlete. I get it. I'm going football players, bro. You got Myles Garrett that's 6'4", 271 pounds.
Yeah.
And he has to get past a guy that's 6'4", 330 pounds, make a move, make a counter move, make another move,
right,
and then sack a quarterback all in under 3 seconds and shoot the guys that are blocking them as well. Look at Tristan Wirfs, 6'5", 320. He has the best athlete on the field opposite of him, and he has to block him and keep up with him and mirror him and move laterally, all while keeping his hands inside and not hold on to him and fall. the ballerina feet that offensive tackles have, to me, that's why I would go football players are the best athletes. But then it's tough to watch a basketball game and say these guys aren't the best athletes on earth. How high they jump, how skilled they are, the moves they make in the air, the combination of moves they have to do to set up a defender and get past and score them. And I brought up tennis players too, because you have 130, 140 mile per hour serve coming your way, and you have to, in a millisecond, make a decision and return it back their way. So I like this debate. It honestly is a good conversation. And end of the day, man, take LeBron James, put him in ice skates. Have Cristiano Ronaldo try to throw a baseball or a football. Have Myles Garrett try to play lacrosse, and you're going to be like, wow, they look human.
Oh, now you want to see him play lacrosse. Now shout outs to all my Lax Bros out there for all of our best content of the day. Make sure you follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. For Travis Thomas and George Balekji, who will learn to put some respect on the Lax Bros names. Boston has entered the chat. Until next time when we enter it again, peace out.